that shelter to abide within the sanctuary of thy protection and the stronghold of thy defense. Illumine my inner being, oh my Lord, with the splendors of the day spring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine my outer being with the morning light of thy favor. Illumine my inner being, oh my Lord, with the splendors of the day spring of thy revelation, even as thou didst illumine my outer being with the morning light of thy favor. Good morning again, everyone. It's good to see all of you here. We see that some people have already joined us on the Facebook feed there. It's good to see all of you. Hang on, let me make a little adjustment here. And good morning, Ken Bees and Geedy and Andy and Farah is with us. And how you doing there, Adam? We see you just joined us. How you doing today, Daryl?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay, but I'm lonely, man. Hopefully, Nene will be able to come back next week. She's been out of the country. She's back now, but she's working and working. And hey, you know, you gotta, as the song says, you gotta roll with it. Right? Roll with it. Let's start with a prayer. You know, I've been going through Baha'u'llah's prayers and meditations, and you know, we have our prayer book. And of course, those are wonderful prayers. They have prayers there from, of course, from Baha'u'llah and the Bab and Abdul Baha. But prayers and meditations are all prayers from Baha'u'llah. And of course, there are too many of them to include in this wonderful prayer book. But this is a prayer from Baha'u'llah. I don't know if this is in the prayer book or not, but I always come here to find it. O thou, the Lord of the visible and the invisible, and the enlightener of all creation, I beseech thee by thy sovereignty, which is hid from the eyes of men, to reveal in all directions the signs of thy manifold blessings and the tokens of thy loving kindness, that I may arise with exultation and rapture, and extol thy wondrous virtues, O thou the most merciful, and stir up by thy name all created things, and so kindle the fire of thy glorification amidst thy creatures, that all the world may be filled with the brightness of the light of thy glory, and all existence be inflamed with the fire of thy calls. Roll not up, O my Lord, what hath been spread out in thy name, and extinguish not the lamp which thine own fire hath lit. Withhold not, O my Lord, the water that is life indeed from running down, the water from whose murmuring the wondrous melodies which extol and glorify thee can be heard. Deny not, moreover, thy servants the sweet fragrance of the breath which hath been wafted through thy love. Thou seest, O thou who art my all-glorious beloved, the restless waves that surge within the ocean of my heart in my love and yearning towards thee. I implore thee, by the signs of thy majesty and the evidences of thy sovereignty, to subdue thy servants by this name, which thou hast made to be the King of all names in the kingdom of thy creation. Potent art thou to rule as thou pleasest. No God is there but thee, the all-glorious, the all-bountiful. Do thou ordain, moreover, for everyone who hath turned towards thee, what will make him steadfast in thy cause, in such wise that neither the vain imaginations of the infidels among thy creatures, nor the idle talk of the froward amidst thy servants, will have the power to shut him out from thee. Thou verily art the help in peril, the Almighty, the most powerful. And this is a prayer by Baha'u'llah. And I love this prayer. I just think it's so beautiful. And it covers so much that, again, is obviously they all have relevance, but some it's like, okay, this is the time for that prayer. Good morning, Husham. We're glad you could join us. Now, as you know, we've been studying the advent of divine justice, and it is my hope that anyone who has been sharing with us from week to week is getting used to the language of Shoghi Effendi.
Yeah.
And it's my hope that we're doing an adequate job of stopping and making note of, or making note of things that we feel need some, I don't know if clarifying is the right word, but meaning, bring real
explanation.
Yeah. And so what we covered thus far, again, we need to point out that this is actually a letter to the believers of America, both U.S. and Canada, back in 1938. But it still has real relevancy. This could be in the news today. The issues that he is addressing in regards to the Baha'i community, and so where we're starting today is where Shoghi Effendi is he's kind of looking to the future. I'll just go ahead and stop there. And Daryl, if you'd like to begin, please feel free to do so.
And who knows but that when this colossal task has been accomplished, a greater, a still more superb mission, incomparable in its splendor, and foreordained for them by Baha'u'llah, may not be thrust upon them. The glories of such a mission are of such dazzling splendor, the circumstances attending it so remote, and the contemporary events, with the culmination of which it is so closely knit in such a state of flux, that it would be premature to attempt, at the present time, any accurate delineation of its features. Suffice it to say that out of the turmoil and tribulations of these latter years, opportunities undreamt of will be born, and circumstances unpredictable created, that will enable, impel the victorious prosecutors of Abdu'l-Baha's plan to add, through the part they will play in the unrolling of the New World Order, fresh laurels to the crown of their servitude to the threshold of Baha'u'llah.
Stop, number one. How would you say that, Daryl? If you had to encompass that, or in one or two sentences, I don't know. What would you tell people?
I would say that we are in the nascent stages of forming a new world order, and that there are we need to be prepared for the challenges of such a earth-shaking event.
Yeah. And perfect, first and foremost. But he's saying at the point that this was being written, any attempt at describing what a lot of the challenges were going to be, and challenges / opportunities,
yes,
would be not only premature, but maybe even impossible to adequately describe, what those challenges would be. Okay, it's just that, well, I've said it too many times. I won't keep saying it. After a while, it sounds like, well, he must not like Shoghi Effendi. No, I love what he says. I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The next section is called The Possibilities of the Future. Nor shall any of the manifold opportunities of a totally different order be allowed to pass unnoticed in the evolution of the faith itself, whether at its world center in the North American continent, or even in the most outlying regions of the earth, must create, calling once again upon the American believers to play a part no less conspicuous than the share that they have previously had in their collective contributions to the propagation of the cause of Baha'u'llah. What he's saying is that, the American believers are going to play a key role in the rollout of this new faith. I can only, for the moment, cite at random certain of these opportunities which stand out preeminently in any attempt to survey the possibilities of the future.
Okay, before you continue that sentence, because that's a colon after what he just read. What he's going to be reading now is a series of things that that Shoghi Effendi is laying out at that time. When we won't itemize them the way, if we had time, I would like to. But he listed a number of things that should be accomplished, and some of which have been accomplished. Some of which have, not at that time, but now in our day, they have been accomplished. Yeah, so, okay. Mm-hmm.
The election of the International House of Justice and its establishment in the Holy Land.
Yeah.
That's one.
Mm-hmm.
The spiritual and administrative center of the Baha'i world, together with the formation of its auxiliary branches and subsidiary institutions. 2, the gradual erection of the various dependencies of the first Mashraqul Ashkar of the West, the Mashraqul Ashkar being the center of the faith, the temple.
Yes.
And the intricate issues involving the establishment and the extension of the structural basis of Baha'i community life. The codification and promulgation of the ordinances of the Most Holy Book, necessitating the formation in certain countries of the East of properly constituted and officially recognized courts of Baha'i law. The building of the third Mashraqul Ashkar of the Baha'i world in the outskirts of the city of Tehran, to be followed by the rise of a similar house of worship in the Holy Land itself. The deliverance of Baha'i communities from the fetters of religious orthodoxy in such Islamic countries as Persia, Iraq, and Egypt, and the consequent recognition by the civil authorities in those states of the independent status and religious character of Baha'i national and local assemblies. The precautionary and defensive measures to be devised, coordinated, and carried out to counteract the full force of the inescapable attacks which the organized efforts of ecclesiastical organizations of various denominations will progressively launch and relentlessly pursue.
Okay. No, go ahead, finish.
And last but not least, the multitudinous issues that must be faced, the obstacles that must be overcome, and the responsibilities that must be assumed to enable a sore-tried faith to pass through the successive stages of unmitigated obscurity, of active repression, and of complete emancipation, leading in turn to its being acknowledged as an independent faith, enjoying the status of full equality with its sister religions, to be followed by its establishment and recognition as a state religion, which in turn must give way to its assumption of the rights and prerogatives associated with the Baha'i state, functioning in the plenitude of its powers, a stage which must ultimately culminate in the emergence of the worldwide Baha'i Commonwealth, animated wholly by the Spirit and operating solely in direct conformity with the laws and principles of Baha'u'llah.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I had checked off the things that that Shoghi Effendi had pointed out, where he says, I can only for the moment cite at random certain of these opportunities. And, just reading them, of course, some of which have already have been accomplished. Uh, one that really jumped out at me was where he points out the deliverance. And I know that in this phrase or in this sentence, he's speaking specifically, he mentions the nations in which, there was a lot of persecution of Baha'is, Iraq, Egypt. But he says the deliverance of Baha'i communities from the fetters of religious orthodoxy in such Islamic countries as Persia, Iraq, and Egypt, and the consequent recognition by the civil authorities in those states of the independent status and religious character of Baha'i national and local assemblies. Now, and that jumped out at me, and I'm like, I don't know. At first I thought that was all about, okay, Baha'is in these lands, in these nations are being persecuted, which of course at that time they were, and many still are at this particular time. But I'm just looking at this again, this sentence, and I'm looking at the things that he is listing that have to be accomplished, whether they've been accomplished already or have to be accomplished in the future. Remains to be that's a whole nother discussion, I should say. But I like the fact. Well, I like it all, but there's a point here where he talks about the stages that the faith has to go through.
Right.
Undergoing, hopefully coming out of those periods in these areas of, persecution and so forth. But then he says, he points out to pass through the successive stages. It says to enable a sore-tried faith to pass through the successive stages of unmitigated obscurity. I mean, how many times how many times have you talked to people and you mention the Baha'i faith? You might say you're a Baha'i, and they're, what's that?
Right.
Unmitigated obscurity, of active repression.
Right.
In countries where, again, people are not even allowed to practice their faith without fear of some type of penalty, of active repression, and of complete emancipation, leading in turn to its being acknowledged as an independent faith, enjoying the status of full equality with the sister religions. And then he goes on. But I'm just thinking about that process from obscurity to repression to emancipation to acknowledgement of its independence, and how, we're seeing some of that happen. I mean, certainly, we've both been Baha'is long enough to actually see some of that happen in a personal way. But it's still that process that the faith has to go through. And, Shoni Effendi, he wasn't a prophet.
No.
He wasn't, but sometimes it seems.
Well, he understood what it would take for the faith to become, as he says, a state religion.
Yeah, and
an independent religion, and independent of all of the other religions around it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So, I just wanted to bring special attention to that because, we think about, so often we think about, let's say, spiritual progress, if you will, whether it be in of the person or of society. And I think we think of it as something that just kind of happens miraculously. And it doesn't. It takes work.
That's right.
And it's historically recordable. You can document these things. And he's listing so well those things that have to be done, and those things that, as these accomplishments are being realized, some of the challenges that you'll be faced with, and hopefully overcome some of those challenges that as a faith community will be able to overcome. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. Please continue.
Okay. The challenge offered by these opportunities, the American believers, I feel confident, will, in addition to their answer to the teaching call voiced by Abdul Baha in his tablets, unhesitatingly take up and will, with their traditional fearlessness, tenacity, and efficiency, so respond to it as to confirm before all the world their title and rank as the champion builders of the mightiest institutions of the faith of Muhammad. He's talking about the Americans and what our role in this process is.
And he mentions three things: fearlessness,
tenacity, efficiency.
Yes. Which one of do either of those kind of make you feel like, we still got to kind of work on it. Maybe all of them.
It's something we all need to work on.
Yeah. Fearlessness, tenacity. You got to be. You got to have audacity. I don't know. I mean, but just that willingness to teach, because that's what this is in relation to.
Right.
I feel confident. The American believers, I feel confident, will, in addition to their answer to the teaching called voice of Abdu'l-Baha and his tablets, unhesitatingly take up and will, with their traditional fearlessness, tenacity, and efficiency, so respond to it. And he goes on, it's so respond to it as to confirm before all the world, their title and rank as the champion builders,
Yes,
of the mightiest institutions of the faith of Baha'u'llah. Now it's this next part where he kind of says, I don't know, it's that part, maybe it's later on, where I think it's later on, where he kind of points out, don't get full of yourself. This is, so, okay, go ahead.
Okay, this starts a new section in my book.
Yeah, and well, you're right. It doesn't, I'm glad you pointed that out. We have different editions of the same, so that's why his wording is the same, but I have numbered paragraphs. He has subtitles for certain sections. Right. Okay. So what's the subtitle?
This subtitle is called His Unfailing Light.
His Unfailing Light. I'm going to write that in my book.
Dearly beloved friends, though the task be long and arduous, yet the prize which the all-bountiful bestower has chosen to confer upon you is of such preciousness that neither tongue nor pen can be fittingly appraise it. Though the goal towards which you are now so strenuously striving to be distant and as yet undisclosed to men's eyes, yet its promise lies firmly embedded in the authoritative and unalterable utterances of Baha'u'llah. Though the course he has traced for you seems at times lost in the threatening shadows with which a stricken humanity is now enveloped, yet the unfailing light he has caused to shine continually upon you is of such brightness that no earthly dusk can ever eclipse its splendor. Though small in numbers and circumscribed as yet your experiences, powers, and resources, yet the force, capitalized force,
yes,
which energizes your mission is limitless in its range and incalculable in its potency.
Okay, now I have to stop you there, Daryl. As you pointed out, the word force there is capitalized.
That's right.
And we've always pointed out that in the writings, usually if a word that seems like just kind of a general simple word, and yet it's capitalized, it's usually a reference to what? When it's capitalized, it's usually indicating that it's a reference to
God.
Yeah,
right.
A reference to God. So when he says, yet the force which energizes your mission is limitless in its range and incalculable in its potency. I bring all this up to say, would it be appropriate when we are leaving each other to say, may the force be with you? It's a long way to go. Do you think it would be appropriate or maybe inappropriate?
I prefer to just say out loud.
I just thought this would be so. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Though the enemies which every acceleration in the progress of your mission must raise up be fierce, numerous, and unrelenting, yet the invisible hosts, which, if you persevere, must, as promised, rush forth to your aid, and will in the end enable you to vanquish their hopes and annihilate their forces. Though the ultimate blessings that must crown the consummation of your mission be undoubted, and the divine promises given you though the ultimate blessings that must crown the consummation of your mission be undoubted, and the divine promises given you firm and irrevocable, yet the measure of the goodly reward which every one of you is to reap must depend on the extent to which your daily exertions will have contributed to the expansion of that mission and the hastening of its triumph.
So, sounds like some of these things are conditional.
Oh, this sounds like they're all conditional.
Yeah, yeah.
They're all conditional, and they're all based on how much effort we're willing to put into this process.
Man, isn't that kind of hard to hear? Hard to read?
It's kind of hard to hear and hard to read, but it's something that is, at its base, kind of reinforcing. It kind of says that in spite of all of the challenges that you're going to face, that we must press on.
Yeah, yeah. I like that sentence earlier where he says, though the goal towards which you are now so strenuously striving be distant, it's far off, and as yet undisclosed to men's eyes, yet its promise lies firmly embedded in the authoritative and unalterable utterances of Baha'u'llah. And, and then those small in numbers, not many of you.
What it says to me is that if you're willing, the force is with you and behind you.
Yeah.
If you're willing, and sometimes all you have to do is open your mouth. The rest is left up to God.
I think I'm gonna have to bookmark this page and keep coming back to it. And, because I think so often, our even our most sincere attempts at teaching the faith, I think very often, and we forget that. Okay, yeah, we have to do what we have to do. Our heart has to be into it. We have to have the will to do it. But if we think we're doing it alone, I don't know, maybe we can be doing it alone if we don't remember where the real strength and the real power has to come from.
Yeah.
Maybe the next song will, you think?
Oh, here.
Wait a minute.
That's from Star Wars.
Okay, I was wondering, where is that coming from? I know it was coming from you, Andy, but I was trying to remember, what's that tune? Yes.
It's Star Wars. The force be with you.
And you can say what you want to, Daryl. When we're done here today, I'm saying it.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm going to say this next song, is called Make Me a Hollow Reed, and I'm getting ready to start in the wrong key. Oh God, make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self have been blown, so that I may be a clean channel through which thy love to others may flow. Oh God, make me a hollow reed. Oh God, make me a hollow reed. I've given up impatience. I've given up discontent. I will not chafe at my lot. Oh God, make me a hollow reed. Oh God, I am wholly am thine. You are my teacher, my physician, and my guide. In your army, I'm a soldier. Oh God, make me a hollow reed. You train me and change me, give me strength, faith, and understanding. You make sure my burden is no more than I can bear. I know that you're holding a place for me in your army of light. And I'll thankfully live now to be fully prepared to serve you. Oh God, make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self hath been blown, so that I may be a clean channel through which thy love to others may flow. Oh God, make me a hollow reed. Oh God, make me a hollow reed. Oh God, make me a hollow reed. Ooh, ooh. That's what we should all be hoping for, to become hollow reeds, because I got to tell you, with all this, you're going to need the power going through you, and the love of God coming through you.
How about if you read the next section?
Well, there's a problem, Daryl.
What's that?
I don't remember where you left. If you persevere.
Dearly beloved friend.
Oh, okay. How are we doing? Okay, I'm ready. Shoghi Effendi continues. Dearly beloved friends, great as is my love and admiration for you, convinced as I am of the paramount share which you can and will undoubtedly have in both the continental and international spheres of future Baha'i activity and service, I feel it is nevertheless incumbent upon me to utter at this juncture a word of warning. The glowing tributes so repeatedly and deservedly paid to the capacity, the spirit, the conduct, and the high rank of the American believers, both individually and as an organic community, must under no circumstances be confounded with the characteristics and nature of the people from which God has raised them up. A sharp distinction between that community and that people, between the Baha'i community and the people, the community from which they come. A sharp distinction between that community and that people must be made and resolutely and fearlessly upheld if we wish to give due recognition to the transmuting power of the faith of Baha'u'llah and its impact on the lives and standards of those who have chosen to enlist under his banner. Otherwise, the supreme and distinguishing function of his revelation, which is none other than the calling into being of a new race of men, will remain wholly unrecognized and completely obscured. I think if he were saying it today, he would have started that whole sentence, that whole paragraph with, "Don't get it twisted."
Right.
You know, don't think that that you can be a part of the world that you come from, of the society of you that from which you come, and don't think that you don't have to change. You can still be a part of that society and still accomplish these things that you're trying to accomplish. And that's a challenge.
It's a real challenge.
That's a huge challenge, and it's very difficult. I mean, just think about society as it is today. It is very difficult to remain above the fray, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I succeed at doing that all the time. I'm not going to even, but we have to try.
Right.
We have to face the fact that if we are to accomplish these things through, again, all of the with all of the assistance that we are given, the heavenly assistance, the spiritual assistance, and the word of Baha'u'llah, you can't have, that's like saying you can't, that old saying, you can't get to first base and you can't get to second base keeping your foot on first.
That's right.
Yeah, we've got to face the fact that change has to be one which is none other than the calling into being of a new race of men. We have to be part of that change.
That's right.
So, wow. Or if we fail in doing that, the supreme and distinguishing function of his revelation will remain wholly unrecognized and completely obscured. So I guess we'll stop there for today. I'm assuming you wanted to stop there. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In my book, it starts another section that we won't.
What's the name of the next section?
The next section is the supreme function of his revelation.
Oh, did you hear that, folks? The next section, which we will be covering next week, starts with the supreme function of his revelation. Okay. I'm writing that in. Because I'm assuming I probably can't find that edition.
It might be a little difficult.
Since I think this is the latest edition, because I think it is, yeah. At least they kept those subtitles in there. But anyway, Sheila has joined us. Good morning, Sheila. At this time, as always, we want to go ahead and shift to a period where anyone who chooses to share a prayer or reading or song of your choice, this is that time. And as always, we like to start with our Camby's moment. So Camby's, you got something to share with us?
Sure.
He says it so nonchalantly, like, I guess. Make the shift.
جبروت باز کن و به این مناجات آغاز نیاز کن که ای مهربان تو ست کن و بپوش خطا از ما عطاست تو جفا از ما وفا از تو گناه از ما پناه از تو بیماری از ما شفا از تو بپوش و بیامرز وفا کن پناه ده شفا بخش Thank you.
Thank
you,
you.
MBs. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share at this time? Yes, please, Sheila.
ای محبوب من ندا می کنم تو را که قلب حزینم را از غیر خود غافل گردانی و به خود مشغول نمایی هو ای محبوب من ندا می کنم تو را که قلب حزینم را از غیر خود غافل گردانی و به خود مشغول نمایی.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. Is there someone else who would like to share?
Thank you so much.
یا الهی اسمک شفایی و ذکرک دوایی و قربک رجایی و حبک مونسی و رحمتک طبیبی و معینی فی الدنیا و الاخرت انک انت المؤتی العلیم الحکیم.
Singing in the mountains, across the valley and the plains. The wind is singing in the gardens. Let love and unity reign. Let love and unity reign. Let love and unity reign. The wind is singing in the mountains. Let love and unity reign. Crickets crying in the valleys can't see the brilliance of the dawn, can't hear the singing in the mountains. The promised one is come, the promised one is come, the promised one is come. The wind is singing in the mountains, Baha'u'llah has come. Shout it from the mountains and fill the world with the song. The wind is singing in the mountains, Baha'u'llah has come. The
not supposed to clap, but
Sorry. Thank you, Andy.
thank you, Andy. Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I say we're not supposed to clap for anybody that doesn't know, because generally in Baha'i gatherings, spiritual gatherings at least, we with various songs, and we certainly, I know we're not supposed to clap after someone does a prayer or a chant. But I think it's okay with songs. Sometimes they're deserving of an applause.
That wasn't exactly a prayer or a chant.
Yeah. So, there we go. Is there anyone else who would like to share? Anyone?
He is God, O Lord. How shall we thank thee? Thy bounties are limitless, and our gratitude but limited. How can the limited render thanks to the limitless? Incapable are we of offering thanks for thy mercies. Utterly powerless, we turn unto thy kingdom and beg thee to increase thy bestowal and bounty. Thou art the giver, thou art the bestower, thou art the powerful. Abdul Baha.
Thank you so much, Pharaoh. Is there anyone else who would like to share at this time? Well then, in that case, I'm going to shift the camera around again. I hope I don't mess it up with all the chords and everything. It's one of those things we can't avoid. It's all the chords. Okay, is that good? Yeah, that's good. I want to let's see. Nini has been watching us, and Kristen, and Bazad, and my cousin Eugene Simmons has also been watching us, and Diane Kerr. And I see another name up there, Kyoko Nani is watching. And I think there are some others, but that's all that the screen can hold, so. Aha. Well, oh yeah, one more thing I got to grab here. You'll have to excuse.
So while he's putting the sign together,
Yeah, there we go.
I need to say that this thing that we do every week is a collaborative effort.
Mm-hmm.
It's multiple communities, and anyone who's interested in finding out more about the Baha'i faith, there are some authoritative websites where you can go and get information.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is www.baha'i.us,
I'm going to hold this up to there.
www.baha'i.org, www.bahaiteachings.org, or if you happen to be in the Tampa Bay area and want to know more about the faith, you can always go to the Clearwater Baha'i website, and it is www.clearwaterbaha'is.org.
All righty. Thanks, Derek.
Can't clear my throat.
You good? You good? You good?
Okay.
And I want to share some news, man. We had a couple of declarations here very recently, right in the area.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. When we say declarations, folks, we mean that there are people that have actually officially, joined the Baha'i faith, and so we call it declarations. They've declared their faith in Baha'u'llah. And I think sometimes we don't talk about those types of things enough. Sometimes it's not relevant to whatever it is we're trying to accomplish. But I have heard people in some cases say, well, how do you join? How do you actually become a Baha'i? Because a lot of times with our enthusiastic teaching that so many people do so wonderfully, they're teaching them about this wonderful faith and this time that we are now living in. And I think on a spiritual level, people kind of feel like, well, yeah, I agree with all of that. I believe all of that.
Right.
But it's not unusual that the people who are sharing, maybe that's even a good way to say it, that are sharing of the teachings and sharing the faith, and they don't tell them about, well, how do you become a part of it?
Right.
And so when people declare, again, that's what we call it. It's a very simple process. We don't, as you can probably tell as Baha'is, do we have some ceremonies? Yeah, but we're very, very low as far as ceremonial types of things. But yeah, I mean, we've had a couple of declarations, and I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Let's see, we've got about 6 minutes, and so that's
Perfect time.
yeah. And so again, for anyone who wants to find,
Excuse me,
Sure, Andy.
Tony.
Yeah.
You did not specify for our audience exactly what declaration entails. Do we have to give some fervent clergyman a chance to drown us, or what exactly does the declaration process entail?
well, I got to tell you, with the whole thing with the internet and everything, do we still say sign the card? Is that
Oh yeah.
is that still
Oh yeah.
okay? Because I've heard of people actually joining online, so I guess, but for most people, there's a simple, there's a card that you simply sign, professing that you believe in the teachings of Baha'u'llah, and that you are officially becoming a member of the Baha'i faith, and that's pretty much it. Did I leave anything out in that regard? I think that's pretty much it. You simply sign a card. It's a special card. It's not just a card. It's a particular card that is then sent in to the national security. Yeah, to the registrar. Yeah.
Well,
And
they need the information about the person who is interested to forward them, all kind of information that they need. Otherwise, if they don't sign anything or any information from them, it's very difficult to contact them.
And that's a good point. That's something that's very important to point out. Thank you, Candice, and thank you for bringing that up, Andy. The reason for signing the card, other than professing your belief in Baha'u'llah, is so that you can actually be officially included in Baha'i activities as a part of the Baha'i community and so forth. And we get it is a community, and it is an organized community. So we do get things in the mail and so forth from.
Puts them into our database.
Yes, exactly. So there's a good reason for that. It's not. It's a good reason anyway, but it's a reason beyond the spiritual. It's also administrative. Okay, but thanks for pointing that out. And Daryl, I guess at this time, perhaps you might want to.
Well, what I will tell you is that the one thing that you can do over the next weeks and months and years that will come back to you 100-fold in ways that you will never ever imagine is to share the love. It's easy to do, it's simple, and it's just smart. So I say to all of you, just share the love.
And I say to all of you, may the force be with you. O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light, and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth. Whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred